Hey, Toy fans! We got a special edition of Project Geek Week for you guys right now. This isn't going to be a full show. We're just going to do a special edition focusing on the Star Trek Continues Episode 5, Devided We Stand. With me today, I've got Greg.
Hey there.
And we're both pretty big Trekkies, and we really love the Star Trek Continues series. We just watched the episode together over a live chat, and we thought we'd go ahead and just kind of share our opinions or our thoughts on the episode. First and foremost, if you're not familiar with Star Trek Continues, it is, at least in my opinion, one of the best fan series that exists out there for Star Trek. Especially
it's got to have the highest production values.
Absolutely, highest production values, and it's really probably the place to go for Star Trek content since we're really not getting anything else besides some subpar movies these days. So if you haven't heard of Star Trek Continues, check it out on YouTube. From time to time they have Kickstarters to fund the show, so definitely be mindful of those. But we had the 5th episode, Devided We Stand, and it was an episode that featured their first on-set location shoot. So each episode has had some pretty incredible sets that have been built for the Enterprise interior. Looks just like it did the 1960s series, but this one they actually went on location to where did they say they were? Antietam?
Yeah.
And yeah, they actually
I don't know if they actually went there, but yeah.
Right, a place that was supposed to serve as Antietam. So I guess, Greg, why don't you go ahead and just give us kind of a brief rundown of what the episode was about.
Well, in short, I guess, McCoy and Kirk got attacked by, I guess, was it an organism or a computer system or something that basically caused them both to hallucinate that they were in the Civil War.
Exactly, yeah. So, and we don't even really understand that at first. The episode kind of opens with a disaster on the ship, and there's a white flash, and then they suddenly wake up in the Civil War era, and part of the mystery of the episode is figuring out what exactly happened to them. So.
And as it develops, we see some of the ship, their crew, attempt to get them out of the Civil War, I guess.
Exactly.
And you have an appearance by Dr. M'Benga, which was nice, a little bit of continuity there.
Yeah, now I don't remember what episode of the original series he appeared in, but he's kind of the doctor who's on staff when McCoy is not available. So yeah, that was a great bit of, great fan nod there.
Yeah, and since McCoy was in the simulation doing kind of horrible Civil War doctor stuff, you got to see M'Benga out in the future doing clean, like, future doctor stuff.
Exactly. I guess we should mention the main players in this episode for anyone who's kind of new to it. We had Vic Mignogna as Captain Kirk. He's also a producer on the series, and he's a big Trek fan who's done several Star Trek projects in the past. Todd Haberkorn was playing Spock. We had Chuck Huber as Dr. McCoy. Christopher Doohan as Scotty, who's actually the son of the original Scotty, James Doohan. And then Martin Bradford as Dr. M'Benga. So those are kind of the major players, and it's worth noting who plays them because we've already seen since the first episode of the series that the actors can change from episode to episode.
We saw a little bit of the counselor as well. I can't remember her name right now.
We did. Michelle Specht.
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, and we even see, for you Mythbusters fans, Grant Imahara is Sulu on this show.
Yeah, and he got, I think, a line or two at least in this one.
He did, yeah. So, as Greg said, it's a great production value on this show. All the sets look like they should look. There's great sound effects, just like from the original series, and the cinematography in general is all great. But Star Trek Continues usually has the best story content I've seen from a lot of Star Trek fan productions, even when you consider things like Star Trek of God and Men, or what was that Star Trek show that was the fan series through the early 2000s where they just shot on green screen the whole time? I cannot remember it. So, but anyway, really great show. As far as how this story stacks up against previous stories, I gotta say, I still think Episode 4, The White Iris, is even Episode 3, The Fairest of Them All, I probably enjoyed more than Devided We Stand, but I thought this was a really good episode. I think so far, Episode 1, Pilgrim of Eternity, has been the weakest episode so far.
I thought that this episode started strong, but it kind of lost me at the end.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like, basically, I liked the setup. Like, when I first saw that it was Civil War, I was like, oh boy, here we go. But, like, as it started going, it was nice. You had Kirk in this situation where McCoy outranked him, and Kirk was kind of serving as just a soldier, and then they took McCoy aside, and he was doing, the doctor stuff, and that was interesting. But
yeah, and I guess I want to interject really quick. One thing I'd commented on while we were watching the show is these guys realize immediately that they're in the Civil War, which is great for men of the 23rd century to be able to recognize that right off the bat. But once they realize they're on opposite sides of the war and that they're in danger of being shot, they don't immediately remove their uniforms. They just kind of scuttle off into the woods.
Yeah, and then, of course, they're immediately captured.
Right. I mean, you'd think that when there's the risk, first of all, of affecting the timeline, because they don't realize that they're not really back in the past, and that they're on opposing sides of the battle, you think you'd just do whatever you can to avoid conflict at all cost.
Right.
But they don't really do that.
So essentially, as the episode progresses, I felt like it didn't really go anywhere. I don't know. You had Kirk, who was looking after this little kid, I guess. This young soldier, not a kid, but like a teen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he kind of convinced him to go from being a shy, cowardly teen to inspiring a group of people at the end, I guess. And he ends up dying, which we don't see on screen. But I don't know. It felt a little bit cliche, and like I was saying, it kind of lost me, I guess.
It did, I guess. I mean, his name was Billy,
Yeah.
and I don't know my Civil War history well enough to know if there was ever a soldier named Billy who was significant at the Battle of Antietam.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a reference to something. Maybe I'm losing some of the history or the context.
Right, but I will say a lot of the original series episodes were very much open and closed cases from start to finish, and in that sense, I think this episode gave a great excuse for Kirk to give some good speeches, and I think that's kind of what they were probably trying to hit on with this.
Yeah, it reminded me kind of like the Omega Glory, where he gets to spend a bunch of time talking about how great America is. It just felt a little bit indulgent in that way.
Right. So, and honestly, like, I don't know that I cared as much about what was going on the ship during this episode as I did what was happening on the battlefield.
But we got Mabenga.
We got Mabinga, yeah, and that was the great part of it. I'm glad that they're reaching, to get all those characters that the fans would definitely remember. I like that this show definitely has nods to the continuity of the series.
And we got, I can't remember his rank, but Crewman Drake came back and donated his arm to the captain.
Yes, exactly. Which surprised me. I guess, did we ever really see technology like whole prosthetic limbs on the original series?
Not that I remember.
Yeah, so... But there was also a nice sort of, I want to say it's a nod more than a budgetary thing. I think there was a nod to the budget of the original series when at one point they have to fire at something off the bow of the ship, and we just see a shot of the ship firing phasers, and then the crew on the bridge reacting to a white flash of light.
Yeah.
So definitely how they would have done on the original series, so they didn't have to film a new, plate in space or come up with any sort of, object to be destroyed. Even though now you could easily do that on a computer.
Yeah, I guess like you're saying, it's just there wasn't a whole lot going on the ship, and they kind of even, like, in a way, they like conceal it from you.
Yeah. So
there's just not a lot for me to take away from that episode, I guess.
No, I agree. And if you guys are new to this series, I've certainly given my suggestions. Fairest of them all, The White Iris, Lolani. Greg, do you remember the episodes well enough by title, and is there anything you'd recommend to somebody who sees this and maybe thinks, I don't know, that the show could do better or that they're looking for something different?
I definitely recommend Lolani. I thought that was great. White Iris, I didn't like it at first, but it's kind of grown on me. I didn't dislike the pilot, as you seem to have.
Okay. I felt like the pilot was the slowest one. I mean,
yeah.
The pilot was cool in that I got a guest star from the original series to come back and basically reprise his role. And the episode's written as such that it explains why he looks so much older than he did the last time we see him. But I thought it was a great first step and a proof of concept, but I think the show really actually did everything it needed to correctly on the second episode.
Yeah, and I would say, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of this episode in particular, it is still very true to the original series. It felt like a TOS episode.
Yeah, I would agree. So maybe a Season 3 TOS episode, but it definitely felt like a TOS episode. All right, well, do you have any closing thoughts then?
I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing more. Like, we have talked a little bit about sort of the history of the show, but basically they release episodes really, really slowly.
Right.
Everything's kind of crowdfunded.
It is. But, given that there's so much space between episodes, I think it actually shows in the production when the episode's finally put together.
Yeah, definitely. And I would rather they take their time and do something really good.
But yeah, to that point, I think it was, 4 months or at least since the last episode went up?
Yeah.
So, it'll probably be as long before the next one. But if you guys are new to the series, I encourage you, head to their YouTube page, just look up Star Trek Continues. They even have their own website. Greg, are you at their website right now?
No, not right now.
Okay, I think it's StarTrekContinues.com.
Yeah, that's right.
So, All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us for this sort of quick, abbreviated review. We do plan on being back later in the week with a full episode of Project Geek Week with Jeff in hand, but this was an episode we knew he wouldn't watch, and we just wanted to kind of try to do a reaction/review of an episode of television, in this case, Star Trek Continues. So if you like this, let us know in the comments below. Love to hear your opinions on the episode if you happen to watch it yourself. We're big Star Trek fans ourselves, and I'm also curious, if you're not a Star Trek fan and you decide to check this out, what your opinion of the episode was, counter to ours. So thanks for listening in this time, and you can catch Greg at Yoshimitsu47 on Twitter. You can catch myself at D21Beast, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.